guys, it's Danny. Today we are talking about the Biorb. I'm gonna give you my final thoughts and a sort of mini review about this product after using it for 6 months or so already. And well, let's just say I have some strong opinions about it already. Now, if you missed the initial video in which I sample it, do check the description down below if you're curious. But anyway, I will focus on the pros and cons, the many cons, sadly, of this product today. So in the end, hopefully you have a better idea what you're buying when you're spending so much money on this product, because it's about 300 euros. Yes, I know, it's a lot of money. So before we start, don't forget to give this video a like if it ends up being helpful for you, and why not subscribe? I post something every day, something about plants, either a short or a long-term video. There's always something on my channel. Right, so let's just start the review with the pros, because trust me, the cons are more numerous. So I do believe the main appeal of this product is the design. It looks beautiful, both in pictures and in reality, and I do believe it fits in any type of home. You don't actually need to have a plant room or greenhouse to display and have this product, and also being that it is automatic and pretty carefree, I think it can suit so many homes and so many types of people. The fact that you can have a busy life but also a little natural corner in your home, I do believe is great. And for this purpose, the Biorb actually does the job. It also has a little fan that pulls air from the outside, recirculates it inside. I did not have mold issues or any type of issue related to very high humidity because of that little fan that pulls air from the outside. And also, very importantly, that little fan maintains the glass, well, the plastic, fog-free. I always see inside this terrarium, which is great because you guys know when you try to do your own terrarium, if you don't put a little fan inside, you will get a lot of condensation. And while that's not necessarily bad, it certainly is annoying when you want to see what's going on inside. So from the functionality point of view, yes, it does work as advertised. The self-watering system works great. The medium is wet. The light is on and off according to a schedule that you can set. So you don't need to use a programmable plug or just flip on and on the switch. And also humidity is high here, so it does actually serve as a terrarium. So from this point of view, it is great. But sadly, that's where the good things kind of end, because here we start the bad things. Now mind you, this is just my opinion and maybe my expectations, because again, I paid over 300 euros for this plus shipping. Oh, I didn't mention, I ordered it online from a different country. Shipping was not tiny, so upwards of 300 euros I spent on this little device here. Needless to say, I had some expectations that were not met. So just keep that in mind and just choose whatever is important for you. It might not be the same as for me. But anyway, here we go. Let's start with the biggest con of this product, which is the lighting. You might not be able to tell. You might be saying that this looks pretty well lit. And in the pictures and videos you see online, yes, the Biorb looks pretty well lit. Well, I don't think it is quite at all. I guess it could be okay for lower light plants, but for medium light type of plants and orchids, I really don't find it enough. And not only that, it's just not even. I will give you a close-up in just a second so you see what I mean, but the light is not even throughout. The light is concentrated in the middle, and on the sides you got shade. So what I decided to do is actually use 2 lamps with grow lights to supplement more light, and these are actually grow lights. That's why maybe the colors of the Biorb are a little bit bluish or purple. It's not the light that the Biorb has. And this was just something I had to do because initially I had the Biorb in my home in a very dark corner, and all I could see were the reflection of my windows on the glass. I could not see anything inside because it was just so dim. And also my plants, I fear they were not receiving enough light. And given I have an eye already for how much light these plants need, because I have my shelves with artificial light that I've been running for 5 years. So I kind of know what I need to see in order to be comfortable that the plants are receiving enough light. Now, why do pictures and videos look perfect, but reality is not perfect? Well, It has to do with the smart devices we're using to capture these images. Most people take photographs and even video on the automatic setting, which means the camera will set itself ideally for whatever situation you are in. So if you're in a very dim light situation, the camera will automatically boost exposure so that it will give you a well-lit image in the end. Well, I do believe that most of the pictures on the internet are taken with the automatic setting on, because I shall demonstrate on a manual setting how dim the Biorb really is. Let's go to my plant shelf. Alright, so this is my main shelf at the moment. It does have quite a lot of natural light at this hour as well. It is the brightest, let's say, corner of the plant room. Next to it, I have a cabinet. It's a rootstock IKEA cabinet, which you can see it's not as bright, but it's still pretty decent. It has grow lights, 4 Barinas there and 2 Barinas there, and I do believe it looks very decent. Next to these, I have my Millsville cabinet, which you guys know. Again, I have my grow lights, 2 on each shelf, and I do believe it's pretty well lit. It looks pretty nice. Get ready for the... Somebody decided to join us. It's so dark in here, I cannot even film. Let's go back. So, this is the Millsville, yeah? Very nicely lit. This is the Biorb. And here's what I was saying about the light being concentrated in the middle. If you look in the lid, you will see that the lights are right in the center of the Biorb, of the sphere, right? And the sides, they don't benefit from light. So you can see the sides are quite shaded. The middle, yeah, it has some light, but the sides are just dark. So yeah, this is the manual setting. This is very close to reality, actually. If I wanted to make this image better, I can just flip a switch and look at that. The Biorb is instantly well lit, but this is not reality. I think reality is about like this. So let me show you the difference that the grow lights actually make. This is the Biorb without the grow lights, and this is the Biorb with the grow lights. Quite the difference, right? And it's not only in the light intensity, it's also in the spectrum, because you would expect the light provided in this terrarium to be plant suitable light, right? Well, it is suitable, it's just not ideal. I really did not find any mention of the LEDs of the Biorb being grow lights, meaning having a spectrum optimum for photosynthesis. To my eyes, they look like any typical daylight kitchen light, to be fully honest. And it's kind of easy to tell because no red or blue accents are accentuated. If you know grow lights, you know that they do try to emit not only full spectrum type of light, but also they do have peaks on the blue and red parts of the spectrum. So if you put something red or blue or purple or pink, a combination of the two under the grow lights, those colors will tend to pop. They will be accentuated. They would just look nice, like my Barinas, which I can show you an example of. Well, this does not happen with the lights that come with the Biorb. So I'm 99.999% sure that these are not grow lights. They're nothing special. They're just normal daylight kitchen lights type of an LED, and they're not even very strong LEDs like Cree LEDs or anything like that. They're just kind of the run-of-the-mill LED. This is what I see. Now, if you guys know more, if you find a mention by Oasis or whatever that says what type of light the Biorb has, do let us know in the comments down below. Maybe I'm wrong. I did not find any mention of such, and I cannot tell you that I see anything special about the lights in the Biorb. They don't accentuate anything. The colors look very washed. The plants don't look good inside the Biorb when you compare them to how they look when you put the actual grow lights on them. So the light is actually my biggest grief when it comes to this product. I was really expecting more when it comes to the price. Now, of course, if you want to use your Biorb in a natural light situation, this will not necessarily be such a problem. But if you want to put it in a dim corner and you have windows around, the windows will reflect a lot on the curved surface of the screen, so you will not be able to properly see inside. If, however, your entire room is very dark, I don't think you're gonna have issues, obviously, because there's nothing to reflect. but again, because it's very dim, it will have a lot of reflections, and I think it would be more ideal to place the Biorb in a natural light situation so that the plants inside actually have some natural light, because I really don't think the light provided by the product is enough. Now, the second thing that I kind of really dislike about it, I didn't think would be an issue, but it kind of is the fact that it has no means of communicating to you about its parameters and how everything is inside. For example, if you want to know the humidity you have inside, you can't. There is no display and there is no Wi-Fi functionality. So things like humidity, temperature, when the lights are on and off, these cannot be controlled by a device, nor do you have a panel or buttons or anything of the sort. You control them in other ways, which have to do with opening and closing the lid. I'll get to that. It's kind of silly, but anyway. So there is no way to know what you have inside your Biorb unless you buy yourself a separate hygrometer and thermometer. Now you see that little square, white square in the back? Yeah, that is a little device that I purchased separately. It cost me €7, not more, but it is a smart device. I can read on it what the temperature and humidity is, but I can also see it on my phone, which is fantastic. It is actually what I wanted. I didn't think I would like to know these parameters as much, but I really do want to know. And another thing that kind of bothers me with this no communication is the fact that sometimes the power cuts off, it comes on, I don't know, something gets a little bit confused here for whatever reason, that my day-night cycle gets all over the place. While the Biorb has the functionality to come on and off at the same hour every day, if the cycle is disrupted, it will just not stay on track. And if you somehow are not present to see the light come on and off, you don't know exactly when it goes on and off. So it might run chaotically without you even knowing. So it's a good idea to have these things on your phone. It sadly doesn't. It is not a smart device. It is just an automated device. Now, we could argue that when this Biorb was created, the technology was not so advanced. Well, I would argue that it was, but let's say it wasn't. You can do something about it because it's 2020, almost 2022. At this point, having Wi-Fi it's €7. It's just like that. It's not a big deal. What you can do is keep this as generation 1, come up with generation 2 or 3, whatever, in which you will add more functionality to your products. Drop the price on this device and put the new price, the bigger price, on the newer product, because literally what you have to do with this product to optimize it to today's requirements is change a little bit of something in the lid. You don't have to replace the entire product. The plastic components can remain the same. They work great. What you need to do is replace the computer inside the lid or add a computer. You can also make a program where people can actually upgrade while not paying as much just by sending you the lid, and you can send back the lid to already existing customers. In this way, you can cut production of plastic and waste of plastic. This unit is absolutely okay. This does not need changing. All that needs changing is the lid. You just need to add something. So if people could send you the lid, you can add whatever you need to add to existing lids and then mail back just this component to the end user, then there you go. There are ways to mediate this lack of technology if you really are interested in that, and there are ways in which you can save existing products. It is such a tiny little thing and little change to do that I'm wondering why you don't do it. That's how I feel about it. So I wasn't expecting it to bother me, but it does. It has no way of communicating with you, and you don't know what conditions you actually have inside your Biorb, or if the light is on and off at the times you set it. Now, another thing that I found quite suspicious, I'm glad it's not the case, but I will mention it because I really wanted to mention it. So when I was starting to watch videos on this product by people who received it in PR, there was a whole campaign about 2 years ago. Many people received it in PR and made videos on it, which was great. So in those videos, I saw quite a few people say that you absolutely need to use the water this device comes with. Now, if you remember the video in which I sampled it, you know it comes with 2 bottles of water. And apparently that water was electrolyte water, which doesn't mean much. I'll put on the screen the definition of an electrolyte. It's not much. It's not magical water, a low salt content water, but but I wasn't sure if particular salts were used or not. But I did find it quite unacceptable for a product to only run on the water provided by the company. Mind you, if you have this company in your town, it's very close to you, it might not be a big deal to go and purchase some water, some expensive water for the product. Okay, but when you live in a totally different country and just acquiring the product was a little bit of a hassle and an expense, buying the water to refill the humidifier unit is just unacceptable. Since nowadays we have proper humidifiers that can work with tap water, filter water, osmosis water, distilled water, having a technology which supposedly works with only a very particular type of water which only you sell, it doesn't sound legit to me. It might be, it just doesn't sound legit, or if it is legit, it is unacceptable. This unit should work with any type of water the end user has easy access to. It might not be ideal with tap water, which is something I do understand, but I think most of us do have access at least to distilled water from the grocery shop or some way of using filtered water, using Brita filters or whatever other type of means. It is much more obtainable than buying OAC water. The good news is that the Biorb actually did work with reverse osmosis water, so I didn't have an issue there. And I will also have to give it that I did not find anything like this in the user manual. I didn't find anywhere written that you have to use their water. But from the videos that I initially watched, I drew the conclusion that maybe the company provided this information directly to the YouTuber. Since there was a discussion there, it was sent in PR for free. I purchased my product. I did not talk to the company at all. So maybe this information did not reach me because I didn't talk to the company. But I can tell you for sure that this product works with reverse osmosis water, and I bet you that it works with filtered water as well. Now, another thing that bothered me was the fact that here on top you have a little bit of a filter, which makes sense. You don't want dust and most importantly fungus gnats to go into the terrarium. Guess what? Fungus gnats go into the terrarium under this lid anyway, so this little sponge here does pretty much nothing. There is dust, there are fungus gnats that can get into the Biorb. But one thing that I did see in the user manual was that you have to replace this cartridge every 2 months or so because apparently this is activated carbon cartridge. And well, when I searched Amazon for replacements, what I saw was this entire plastic container being sold as a replacement, not the actual sponge. Now, throwing this away every 2 months is again unacceptable. Look at it. Look how big it is. It is such a waste of plastic. Again, this is unacceptable. If you do want to change something, at least make it so that this cartridge is openable, which I think it is. I think I can open this and just wash a little bit of sponge or maybe even change it. It's just not easy. You have to kind of work a little bit on it. Maybe it has, oh, I'm just noticing it might be sealed. Oh no, I hope I can change it. If not, I'm just gonna not use it if it gets so clogged up, or try to remove this manually. Anyway, it is unacceptable to have to change this entire unit rather than the tiny little sponge it has here, is what I'm saying. So this is something that I personally didn't like, and I can assure you I'm not going to buy another cartridge and change it after 2 months because it is such a waste. I don't really understand it, but it is what it is. Another thing that I didn't really like has to do a little bit with that display or the possibility of connecting with it. And this is how you set up the timers. Now, as I was saying, this is an automatic terrarium, but to set it up, you have to do a combination of opening the lid, closing the lid, keeping a button pressed. This controls the humidity level and the fan speed. And it can be very, very confusing to determine how to set each of them if you don't have the manual closed. So on the screen, I will put the manual because I literally do not remember how to do these things. If I wanted to adjust the fan right now, I don't remember how to adjust it. Is it the lid open and then press the button, or is it just press the button, press it 2 times or 3 times to set the level? It is chaotic. You do it once and then you forget it, and if you want to adjust something, you need to get the manual at some point and do it again. It's not a big deal in the grand scheme of things, but for 300 upwards euros, it is a big thing. I will nitpick on it because it is such an expensive product, and I expected it to have more of a functionality when it comes to controlling it. Not to mention, you cannot actually set the amount of time the light is on. So this automatically runs on a 12-hour schedule. 12 hours off, 12 hours on, more or less. If you want to keep the lights on for 16 hours and off for 8 hours, you absolutely cannot. You cannot control how long the lights will be on, which is again, maybe not a big deal, but certainly a big deal when you're spending upwards of 300 euros. And by the way, in dollars, that will be even more on this product. Or at least when I purchased it, that's how much it costed. So because I spent a lot of money on it, I will nitpick on it. I would love to have the functionality of actually controlling how long and when the lights will be on as easy as I wanted to by the tap of my phone. Next up, the materials the Biorb comes with. So as you saw, it comes with 2 bottles of water. They're not necessarily useless, but instead of those bottles of water, maybe it would be nice to provide a better substrate, because what this Biorb comes with is just a block of cocoa peat. And it's not even the best quality cocoa peat, I have to tell you. I'll give you some close-ups. The cocoa peat kind of compacted very weirdly, and I personally used their cocoa peat and also the bark chips that I use for the past 3 years already, and I'm happy with it, just to fluffen it up a little bit, because only putting cocoa peat here would just be a little too much. And not only was it too much cocoa peat, but it's also compacting very, very aggressively. The cocoa peat I used is not as fine as this one. It's a little bit higher grade, let's say, or bigger grade. Not to mention that, yeah, after a few months of use, look at that, I have mushrooms. Now, I will not put the blame on the medium only, because spores can come from everywhere. They could have been on the plants, of course. They can also come from the bark. Kind of doubtful, but of course they can. So I'm not gonna say their medium was infested, but I will say that the environment here is very adequate for mushrooms as well. Because here's the thing. The mushrooms appeared after I fertilized my plants. So the Biorb runs on a self-watering system. And ever since I set it up, I only filled the reservoir once with water, because the water is very well kept there. But when I filled it up, I didn't put any fertilizer because I was expecting the reservoir to last 2 weeks, not 3 months, but it lasted 3 months or more than that. So I just put reverse osmosis water. And after a few months, my plants started to display deficiencies. As you can see, that yellowing, that's deficiency. So when I saw it, even though I still had water in the reservoir, I prepared fertilized water. I fertilized everything, and that was the greatest recipe for the mushrooms, which now had a lot of food at their disposal to grow, and grow they did. My plants are starting to look better as well, but fertilizing is a little tricky with the Biorb, because now I kind of over fertilized. Since there is no way to drain this, or there is, but it's very inconvenient. Since there is no way to very well drain it, I would be very, very careful how you fertilize, and just maybe spot fertilize the plants you have inside, because it's so easy to just place a lot of water in the reservoir, and if all of that water has fertilizer, all manner of things will start to grow in here. So the spores were already here, they just didn't have the proper conditions to grow. Now that I gave them fertilizer, oh boy, grow they did. But yeah, I'm not gonna necessarily nitpick too much on this, but it's just one of my observations, and it's just because of the self-watering aspect of things, because you can store a lot of water in the reservoir. So now when I'm gonna redo it, I'm not going to water it as much. I'm going to keep less water in the reservoir, and I'll also be very careful how I fertilize. So these are my final thoughts on the Biorb. I think that is about enough. Anything else from here is really, really nitpicking, but I do believe that for the price, the points that I brought up are pretty valid. For me, they are valid. To be fully honest, because there are so many inconveniences, if you ask me if I would purchase it again, I would say no. I'm just gonna wait for version 2.0 if they're ever going to release it. Because spending so much money on something that gives you so little, it pretty much gives you basics. I don't know. I feel like you're spending this money for how it looks like. And to be fully honest, if you want something similar, just buy a bowl, right? And if you're very, very handy and you're talented at handcrafting, which I'm not, but if you are, I bet you can make such a beautiful lid for it. You can even make the self-watering system somehow if you're very talented. So because of all of these things, I really don't think it's worth the price. For me, it's not worth the price. I thought I would enjoy it more, but I don't, because there are these inconveniences which take away so much from it. And also the light. I will literally place it in a natural light setting now, because as much as I like sci-fi stuff, this looks, you know what this looks like? It looks like the poster for Oblivion. That's how it looks like. Tell me I'm wrong. So yeah, it kind of limits where I can place the Biorb if I will need to add more light. I would just like to use it on its own without additional light. That's, I guess, my biggest grief with it, and I would just not spend the money again on it. But now that I have it, I'm gonna try to make the best of it, make videos on it, just so maybe I can recuperate some of the investment, because it was such a huge investment that I sadly kind of regret. But let me know in a comment below, what do you think? Have you used the Biorb? Are you happy with it? Or were you thinking of purchasing it? What do you think about the points that I made? Do you think they're valid? Are they important for you? Just let me know your thoughts down below. It would be fun to see what you guys think, because you know me, I'm not all that often super let down by stuff, and when I am, you know, I'm kind of sad. Anyway, so that's it for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you learned something from this video, and I hope it's useful for you. Subscribe to my channel for more orchid videos, tutorials, experiments, updates, and other fun orchid subjects. If you wish to support the channel, do consider becoming a member or visit the merch store linked down below in the description. You can also follow me on Instagram and Facebook. It's always nice to stay in touch there as well. And with that said, I'll see you next time. Bye!